wanted a big pot. Now he's got one,
Yeah.
but be careful what you wish for.
Well, look how many cards Blake can hit is just not hugely behind. There's only one card to come.
I think.
And the aces hold. The aces hold, and Dale Hoy has got himself
So many bloody outs.
in a strong spot. Joined by Neil Badbeat Channing, who will be leading us down the travails of the travel. And we saw a straight flush draw earlier in the series, Neil, but this one a little bit different. I mean, were Tim Blake's hands tied?
Well, I don't know. I don't really like Tim Blake's play in some ways in this hand, but it was all made a bit awkward by the fact that Dale Hoy decided to keep the pot small early on with aces, which is an unusual decision in this format. He kind of overcomplicated it. They've gone to the flop four-handed. He's asking for all kinds of trouble.
You don't like that?
I don't generally like that. I mean, if you slow play all your big hands and fast play all your bad hands, you're very easy to read in this format. I tend to fast play my strong hands, and if no one's got anything, no one's got anything. You're just unlucky.
Obviously, the crux point in this hand was the turn.
Yeah, I mean, earlier on in the series when we looked at the straight flush draw, we were saying it's a very strong hand. You've got to get all your money in on the flop while you've still got a big draw. For Tim Blake, he couldn't really do that in this situation. The pot was so small that he'd have to be shoveling in lots and lots of money to win very little. So he quite rightly, I think, in my view, decided to get to the turn and see what happened. And of course, bingo, he hit the jack on the turn. So now he's got top pair and the straight flush draw. So now he seems to be in a very strong situation. Unfortunately for me, he made a big mistake now. You know, basically the secret to No Limit Hold'em is to give yourself two chances to win. One, you give the guy a chance to pass his hand, or two, maybe you get lucky with the cards and you win the pot. He didn't really give himself the two chances. He didn't raise enough to get Dale Hoy out with his aces, and he opened the window for Dale Hoy now to come back and raise him and give himself what he obviously considers to be a difficult decision.
And now I guess we learn something more about Tim, which is how does he come back from this?
Raise to 7,000 total.
Well, been spending a lot of time with Tim on the tour lately, and I know no matter what happens here, it's not going to knock him off his mood, which is, you know, he's a super positive guy at all times, but he just had the biggest result of his poker career less than a month ago in Ireland, and you know, he knows the ups and downs of the game. I mean, I think it's going to affect him seriously. He used to be known kind of more as a journeyman grinder, but lately he's really stepped his game out of the box. And he's got Grummet.
All in.
Is that the only move he can make here?
Yeah, and that's the perfect flop. I mean, that's a dream come true. There's one overcard, and it's been called. I mean, it's just because of the amount. It's just such a small amount, and because of how busy Paul was early, he can afford to take this risk.
I thought I got the 7.
I believe that, actually.
Yeah, no, I don't. I'm surprised by the call. It's cheap, but he must have thought he connected. You got to remember your cards. It's so important.
Obviously, there's still a bunch of live outs, and Tim Blake is sort of dreading this river, which could be a king or an 8.
Oh, that is unfortunate. Two hands and it's all over, especially knowing that Grummet didn't really mean to call.
No, I believe me. You know, everybody in poker player knows that when a guy genuinely misread his hands, he's about to dog you horribly. Looking at the leaderboard, this has been entertaining so far, if not picture perfect.
You know, we're not even 10 hands into this game and we've already seen so much action. It feels like a full tournament has passed us by, but that's unfortunate for Tim. You got to feel for him now.
I don't think there's much I would have changed. You know, you've got to get chips early, and that's the only way you can play this sort of game. It's no good. I mean, okay, there's a second place, you get a second chance, but really third, fourth, fifth, it's the same as last. But we should be back. The Timinator will be back.
Welcome back to the PartyPoker.com World Open 4.
Cool.
this table's so dramatically different to last times when you just couldn't limp for love or mercy.
No, well, that's why I
Cool.
said, you know, I
Yeah.
think we're going to see lots of
No
3- and 4-way pots because people seem to be just at this stage, maybe not later, but right now just happy to take flops in and see if they improve. Again, 4 players to this.
Kojak. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And look at this. Cooper and Reardon
Check.
have both flopped 2 pair.
Check, check.
This is huge trouble for Big TR. Huge trouble.
Yeah, now both these players are experienced, so it'll be interesting to see if that comes into play. They're not going to go broke on this, but I think
Check.
they could find this inexpensive process.
Reardon's already saved money by trying to slow play this, and now with the possible straight out there.
Check.
I'm surprised that
Six.
that Rob
6
Cooper
down.
has.
Called.
I was
Yes.
expecting him to make more of this. I keep looking at high, thinking it's Rob Cooper. I wish
Pass.
I wish one of them would wear a hat.
You were talking about flopping a big hand and a big blind, and the reason sometimes you don't want to slow play is somebody else might have something, and you're going to lose out on money. This pot is going to be a lot smaller than it could be. I mean,
Yeah, it's interesting the way that they played this through.
with the possible straight out there, it's not going to get all in, is it?
But you would think the cards you'd need to make that straight are the sort of cards you would raise with pre-flop. If you're trying to put your opponent on a hand, if you're looking at ace-queen. But everyone limped
Yeah.
into this pot, didn't
Check.
12.
12,000.
they? Now, this will be interesting.
Reardon thought long and hard and decided to check. I'm sure it's check call.
Yeah, I don't see him folding this. I mean, you would have to be quite paranoid to have flopped 2 pair and still believe you're weak. But he's really thinking about something here. All I can think is he thinking I can raise you here and it's worth doing?
He will know a lot about Rob Cooper's game. They've played
Okay.
before.
I'm tempted to raise you, but just in case you have got land.
Well, they are. I think he's said
raise.
exactly what we were attributing to his attitude.
Nice hand.
Is that he was seriously thinking, is there much value in this situation raising?
Could he not
And I
even
think he made the
ask
right decision. I think in many other players, and I said I don't think we're going to see anyone go broke just because of the caliber of these particular 2 players.
Well played.
Nice 2 pair for Cooper, but Reardon certainly played that to lose the minimum.
Pass.
Cool.
Cool.
The history of this format is first timers. You know, that you need a little bit of experience. It seems like.
Yeah, and we've
Well,
seen
pass.
before people kind of
Pass.
almost clicking as the game moves on,
Right.
and they sense the moves and they're paying attention to their opponents. Because the good thing about this format is you are just focused, totally focused
Okay.
on your table.
No raise.
And there's a lot of information to be
Big
learned
hands.
by these players. Again, it's another three-way pot here.
Yeah, Grummets hit the middle pair, and Rob with the ace.
And of course,
Okay.
Reardon's got the
Check.
gut shot draw. He might take another card here if the
6,000.
price isn't too bad.
Raise
Like this from Greg.
Good, yeah.
to 14,000 total. Pass.
Okay.
And it's a nice raise, not a big raise. It's just kind of asking a question.
Yeah, that's good. And you know, and Rob hasn't risked too many of his chips, but he clearly thought that's the amount that will find out what I need to know. And that'll bolster his confidence and make him feel like he's back in the game here as an active player. He just needs to try and follow this up now. It's amazing in the space of such a relatively short tournament how many times you can feel on top of the world and how many times you think you're in charge of the table, and other times you're just thinking, oh, I'm just being pounded here. And it's in the space of a few hands we've seen Rob Gray really move through all those different spots.
We'd no sooner finish the discussion on how hard a time he was going to have winning when he went chip leader.
14,000
Yeah.
total. Pass.
That's the beauty of the cards. If you get the right cards at the right moment and you run into an opponent that does want to play against you,
Cool.
here we see it's another flat call for the ace queen with Grummett. It's twice he's done this now.
And Reardon is raising from the button. He's looking to get in these spots, and I guess hit a big hand to make a big pot. But can he win this pot? Oh wow.
Well, it's going to be tough now because he's 1, not connected, and 2,
14,000.
got an opponent who's happy to fire out at him. It's,